Hello and welcome to CNBC TV18. I'm Shereen Bhan. As India completes 75 years of independence, we at CNBC TV18 are taking stock of the progress across various sectors to create a list of imperatives for the future of the world's fastest growing economy. One that is set to be the most populous as well. Over the last few years, acceleration of technology and automation have digitized the country at a speed not seen before, leaving no area untouched, from a farmer selling her produce directly in e-auctions to rural youth finishing her degree through e-learning, to a small-town business owner securing a one-click loan. 750 million smartphone users are accessing services which were out of reach just a few years ago. What about healthcare? India's healthcare sector has evolved faster than ever as the pandemic brought pace and urgency to healthcare delivery models led by innovation. As many as 400 million Indians are said to have used digital health services, mostly on their smartphones. And this number could grow to 1 billion by 2030. From delivering medicines at the doorstep to using genomics for preventive cure, more than 7,000 health tech startups are coming up with digital costs for India's broken healthcare system. Investors and philanthropists are backing these startups that are trying to reinvent healthcare delivery in India. Among the ardent supporters are Kris Gopalakrishnan, one of the founding members of India's Infotech Revolution, the co-founder of Infosys. He believes it is a great opportunity for India to be the laboratory where tech-led healthcare transformation is going to materialize, a transformation that would be a model for the rest of the developing world. And to talk to me more about the transformative power of technology and his vision for India's healthcare models, I'm now joined by Kris Gopalakrishnan, the chairman of Axilor Ventures. Kris, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV18. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you, Shereen, for having me.
Well, Kris, before I talk to you about the transformation that we are seeing in healthcare and the various delivery models that you yourself are working on in association and partnership with the startups that you are funding, let's talk about the tech transformation in general. This is a story that you are most familiar with. It goes back, at least as far as Infosys is concerned, to well over 3 decades. But so much has changed, Kris, from the time that you, along with 6 others, decided to start Infosys to where we are today, not just in terms of numbers or size, but just the barriers and the entry thresholds to being able to start a business. What, to your mind, have been the seminal changes?
So clearly, as you rightly said, technology has had a huge impact in the industry sector in India, led by the IT services industry, which established India as the destination for IT services. From there, the industry pioneered the efforts in other IT services like remote infrastructure management, BPO or business process management, R&D services. So it expanded the set of services that are being delivered with this model, so much so that this has become the default model. From that, I think India has moved on to, how we can leverage tech for delivering services to common people, like using UPI for payment. Today, if you're able to get your income tax returns very quickly, if you're able to look at, One India, One Tax, which is the GST. So we have come a long way in leveraging technology to deliver services, to deliver on the promise of ease of living to our citizens. And in parallel, the data communication, the telecommunication infrastructure also has kept pace. And of course, recently we have had the 5G auction. So India is actually on the forefront of IT, leveraging IT for benefit to our citizens, and establishing a world-class telecommunication infrastructure.
I just want to take you back to the time when you started Infosys along with Mr. Murthy Nandan and others to where we are today, where we are seeing the birth, the launch of unicorns practically every other day. Yes, the environment has changed over the last few months on account of global liquidity drying up. And of course, these are the aberrations that one must go through as part of any cycle. But on the whole, from the time that you launched Infosys to where we are today, where billion-dollar valuations are the new norm, what, to your mind, have been the big changes there, and what do you now foresee as far as the future is concerned?
See, as we transition to a knowledge-based economy, as Indian economy goes from $3 trillion to $10 trillion, which I believe will happen in the next 30 years, you know, one of the drivers will have to be the tech industry and other sectors that are driven by tech. Every sector, including agriculture, education, healthcare, of course, in retail and e-commerce, tech impact is already seen. Financial services, the tech impact is already seen. So every sector will get impacted, and we need either existing companies adopting these new models or new companies to emerge. Typically, if you look at US, the five companies with largest market caps are companies which are less than 50 years old. So we need new companies to emerge. These are fast-growing companies. These are companies that are innovating and introduce technology into the society. Those are the ones which will drive high growth. And I believe as we transition to a $30 trillion economy, we need these companies. In the last 30 years, the IT services companies have had an impact, 7-8% of GDP, 25% of exports, etc. You know the numbers. So we need other companies to emerge which will drive this growth. And I'm very happy. Yes, these are waves, and you have to ride with the waves, up and down. But if you take the medium term, I'm very, very optimistic about our startup ecosystem. I'm very optimistic that many of these unicorns will survive and grow to become global companies in the future.
Well, that certainly is the hope, and that certainly is the aspiration. But Kris, let me now take you to an issue that I know is close to your heart and something that you are putting your money as well as your passion into, and that is health tech, to address the problems that India faces and perhaps the globe faces as far as healthcare is concerned. Now, there are the key challenges of access, affordability, awareness, accountability, and these are issues that hopefully the power of technology should be able to address. Now, what Indian IT services did for the IT industry, can you draw parallels in your experience of having worked with health tech to see what transformation is possible at this stage?
See, first of all, I believe that healthcare is broken all over the world, not just in India. We saw that during the COVID crisis. It doesn't matter whether it's a developing country or a developed country. We got severely impacted. Everyone got severely impacted. And to a certain extent, I believe that we in India have done a very good job. Imagine a poor country vaccinating, 80% of the eligible population, giving 2 billion doses, in an affordable way. I think we have done a very good job. And even though we have COVID cases, I believe that I think it's behind us now. So it is important for India to come out with a new model that is going to be built on digital first. We need to think about, how we would create a healthcare industry today if we are going to do that from scratch, which to some extent we are, because we don't have legacy, legacy overhang. So we should think about centralized, digital health records, of course, in a secure and privacy protected way. We should think about exchanges and platforms that will allow us to interchange data so that the digital health records are portable. We need to streamline the whole insurance process, just like UPI did the payment process.
You talk about this exportable Indian model, Kris. Given the experience of having worked with the startups who are trying to address some of these challenges, which model do you believe, or which spaces within this broken healthcare system do you believe is going to be the most easy to replicate and scale?
So I believe the IT enablement of the hospitals, the insurance, patient monitoring, that space, and making healthcare digital using wearable devices, etc., will be probably the easier ones. The more difficult ones are when you get into introduction of healthcare into diagnostics, into patient care and things like that, into managing these patients either at home or at hospital, because these will require regulatory support and regulatory approvals. Using these technologies now, we can also change disease protocols, cure protocols and things like that, new ways in which to manage diseases. So for example, immunotherapy in cancer, or addressing issues of dementia, Alzheimer's, etc. Now, these are more difficult problems because first, you need to find the solution. Second, you need to make sure that it has all the safeguards that a regulatory framework will provide.
Speaking of opportunities and speaking of the advantage and leveraging the advantages that we enjoy, I want to link that back to two of your initiatives. One, I want to talk to you about the Swasth Alliance and where things currently stand on that front, because it is a non-profit that you launched with your former colleague Nandan Nilikani and others. You're aiming to leverage digital technology to drive healthcare inclusion and improve health outcomes. So one, on Swasth, what is the future? And as far as Axilor is concerned specifically, I mean, you've already got half a dozen startups in the portfolio. What kinds of companies are you going to be looking at in terms of funding under the Axilor umbrella?
So in terms of Swasth Alliance, it's a not-for-profit entity, as you rightly said. One of the major programs that we are looking at is to create a healthcare exchange, a claims exchange, HCX. Internally, it's called HCX. This allows any provider, any hospital to connect with any insurance company to ease the flow of information for insurance claims processing. The specifications are done. We are now starting to do beta and pilots with some of the hospitals and insurance companies. And we hope that this, along with the government initiative to create a healthcare exchange for government hospitals and government insurance companies, we can actually transform the way healthcare is provided in India, just like UPI changed the payment infrastructure. I also would like to see both government and private sector interoperate in this, so that we have much greater flexibility in how healthcare insurance is covered. So we are hoping that this becomes a platform of choice for providing healthcare insurance. On the Axilor side, we look at diagnostics, we look at care and management, and we are also looking at some of the IT infrastructure that's required to provide healthcare in hospitals or in clinics and things like that. So all of these things are at play.
The healthcare exchange that you spoke of, timelines of when we can see this being operationalized? You said that it is in the pilot stage. How many hospitals, how many insurance companies are on board? When can we see this go commercial?
So the pilot will only work with a handful of hospitals and insurance companies, because we need to do step by step. Hopefully by next year, you should see wider adoption of this.
Okay, wider adoption. Kris, before I let you go, we are talking about India at 75, celebrating 75 years of freedom. If I were to ask you, what is that one dream that you still have, which is yet to be realized for the country, for the nation, before I let you go?
for me, India becoming a developed country, I have been very lucky, in being where I am today. I would like to see, majority of the citizens becoming middle income people. That is definitely doable.
Kris Gopalakrishnan, always a pleasure. Appreciate you joining us here on this special edition of India at 75 and taking us through your vision for transforming the healthcare sector in India, not just for the benefit of India and Indians, but also for the world. Appreciate your time. We will take a break, but there's a lot more coming up. We are going to be joined by another very special guest. We're back in a minute with more.